Hello YouTube. So it's not often that I do videos like this, but I've got a really exciting new bit of equipment in the workshop today, and after looking on YouTube trying to find reviews on it, it turns out there's not actually that many. So today I'm going to unbox this and give my first impressions on my new bit of equipment. So yeah, like I said, the main reason I'm going to do this video today is because there's not much on YouTube like this. Not many people have reviewed these lathes and they seem like a really popular make of lathe. So let's get this lid off and see what all the fuss is about. Oh, there it is. This is the Warco WM180 lathe. So if you decide to buy one of these lathes, this is more than likely how it's going to arrive. Got to say, it looks really nicely packaged. Nothing looks damaged so far. So yeah, first impressions, really good of their packaging from Warco, and also just the fact that they've, you know, got everything in there, and like I say, nothing looks damaged so far. So I'm going to get this up on the bench and then we can give it a good proper look over and see what you guys and I think of it. So I've just unpackaged everything out of the crate, and before I assemble the lathe I'm just going to give you a quick walk through of exactly what we got in there. So obviously this is the lathe itself. It comes with sort of like most of the handles removed, none of the bottom plate, etc. So moving down, with this lathe you get a 4-jaw chuck. You get the bottom plate to collect all your metal chips. Let's have a look in here. I haven't actually looked in here yet, so we shall see. I believe this is like a toolbox with all the bits in. Right, so what do you get? Get some spare jaws for the chuck. Loads and loads of different gears, cutting threads. Okay, you get all the handles are in here. Chuck key. Yeah, it's quite a good like toolbox. I think that's your dead centre. Another dead centre there. So you get a fair bit in that toolbox. Moving down, I think that's like a backing plate. I'm not too sure. It's probably for using the 4-jaw chuck maybe. And then you get loads of like different manuals and everything as well. I have bought a few things knowing the chuck was coming. I've got a keyless drill chuck that will go in the tailstock, and I also bought this set of lathe cutting tools. This was actually off Warco's website, and it's sort of like the carbide insert tools. I went with the biggest ones that the lathe was capable of. They're 10mm. Obviously my feeling was the thicker the tool, the more rigid it's going to be. So yeah, went with 10mm. So anyway, I'm going to assemble the lathe now, and I'll come back when it's all bolted down and everything connected up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Ah, get out. Get out. Get out. I'm trying to do a lathe video here. Lola, I'm trying to do a review video. Do you mind? Oh, no, obviously not then. Right, the lathe's all bolted down, but we'll come back to that in a second. I'll try to quickly go over the accessories a little bit more. So, mounted on the lathe when we first got it, we have these steadies. So they're really good, you know, if you can't use the tailstock for whatever reason. Obviously anyone watching this video knowing about lathes will know what they are and how they work anyway, but they seem quite good quality. The only issue I've found so far is, can you see that? That one there, it looks like the thread's been like tapped at an angle. I've operated it all works fine, but that's the only issue I've found with that. Yeah, the toolbox, we've gone over what's that. I've just unboxed the 4-jaw chuck as well. Everything in there seems like quite good quality. Comes with new studs and bolts. And also the backing plate. Yeah, that does look like it bolts onto to where the chuck goes, and probably you can bolt other stuff onto there, so that is good. Right, so the lathe. I wiped all the grease off and pretty much set everything up, put the handles on, tested everything. Surprisingly, straight out the box, I've just put a carbide insert tool in there and the dead centre in there, and just out the box it looks like it lines up perfectly, so there's no shims going to be needed if you're using a 10mm tool, which is really good. The only bad thing I've found so far with this lathe is, so on the metric lead screw, if you can see here on the end, there's meant to be like a preload nut on there, and that preload nut was missing. Luckily, like an M8 nut fits on there, but I'm gonna have to contact Warco and get a new one sent out, just in case it's like a special type of nut. I've never used a lathe before, let alone even own one, so this is my first time owning and using one. So if any of the terminology I use is wrong, I'm sorry about that, but you know, I get the general idea. So the tailstock's got like a locking handle here, so you can unlock it, slide that backwards and forwards. It's like a really smooth action actually. Obviously you've got the I think it's 50mm of travel you've got on this tailstock. Yeah, 50mm of travel. So obviously you can wind that out, wind it back in. And it's got a nice feature that when you wind the tailstock all the way in, it actually retracts the tool that you've got in there. So just pops out. So this is actually like a Morse taper, 2 taper in this tailstock. So without that function, it's quite hard. It'd be quite hard to pop that out. Obviously it's got a lock on top as well. So when you set up your dead center, you can lock it off and that shouldn't move. I believe as well it's actually got an offset function. I haven't looked in fully how to do it yet, but you can offset the tailstock. I think that helps with like cutting tapers, but I'm not too sure yet. So yeah, that is the tailstock. So moving on to the compound rest, we'll start at this end. So it comes with like a nut dial, I think it's called, or a threading dial. So this is really good. Like I've been told that like when you're cutting threads, you can sort of, you know, see what position you start off. Say you started off on a 1, you know, when you wind back, you've then got to start back on a 1. So obviously I'm just saying this like I sort of know what I'm about. I don't have a clue. I'm just literally trying to do a bit of a review on a lathe. So the dials all seem really solid. There is a little bit of backlash, I don't know if you can see there. It's a bit of backlash there. I've been told that you get that with like every lathe. So it's just one of those things you learn to live with. The sort of smaller movements, the X and Y axis movements, it doesn't seem like there's any backlash there really at the minute. So that's really good. And obviously like the tool holder that comes with it, it's capable of holding 4, I think, and you rotate around. That I will be changing in a later video. I'll be replacing that to the quick change tool post. I've actually got the holders, but the tool post hasn't turned up yet, so that's something I'll be setting up in a future video. So compound rest all seems good. So I've gone over and I've checked everything tight, so I suppose now is the moment of truth to turn this on and see how it performs. So up on the top you've got like forward, off and reverse. You've also got an emergency stop, and under there you've got your green on and off. I'm just moving to the front of the lathe. You've got like a variable speed dial, which is really good actually. You can sort of set the speeds, and there's a digital display which shows it. So we'll set that on forward. We'll start off down low and we'll turn that on. So that is spinning at 200 RPM. Oh, looks pretty cool so far. Let's crank her up and see how it goes. So that's running at about 1000 RPM. Absolutely flying. So a few of you might have noticed, but I've actually taken off the chuck guard. Let me turn it off. I've actually taken off the chuck guard and just the guard that goes over the tools, just because they're a bit annoying. They get in the way, and yeah, didn't want them on really. So I think what I'm going to do now, I don't want to go too long on this. It was just like a review video really. Something I do want to mention actually though, is the lathe is actually a lot bigger than I thought it was. On the website it says that it's 300mm between centres, and I thought 300mm, that doesn't sound a lot, but like now I've actually got it and I'm like checking it out. 300mm actually seems like a decent amount. Like obviously it's on the smaller side for like the bigger versions of the lathe, but I think for what I'm going to be using it for, this is going to be perfect. So I think I'm going to try now. I think I'm going to try facing. So here we go then, facing some 20mm aluminium bar stock for the first time. Alright, I'm going to wind that all the way in. I'll wind this out. Wind that in a bit more. Right, so here we go then. For the first time, we're gonna, I think this is right. Turn that on forward. Let's up the RPM. And wind it in. I don't know much about facing, but it looks like there's some decent chips coming off. And it seems to be doing its job. So it looks like a really nice finish actually on there. Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. That has come out really nice. Lovely, lovely face on that. Right then, that's my first impressions of the Warco lathe. I can't give a proper review yet because to do that I feel like you've got to use something. Just getting it out of the box and giving like an unboxing review is fine. But until you've actually started using it and know what it's capable of, then you can't really say for sure how good it is. But on first glances out the box, it does seem really good. Seems like good quality. I believe these are like these Warco lathes are a Chinese sort of lathe. But just because they're Chinese, it doesn't mean that they're rubbish. I believe that Warco do like check them over and add things like what they want onto them. So it's not just your budget lathe. The Warco WM180 does seem like a really good quality lathe. It's got some good features and a sturdy motor. So yeah, if you're thinking about buying one of these, I would probably say go for it. You know, they always seem to be sold out. So to me, that says they're a really popular item. And for something to get popular, it's not normally because they're rubbish. It's normally because they're pretty decent. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's something different from my channel. Never really done a reviewing or unboxing video. I've got lots of bits of equipment in the workshop, so it might be something I might start doing more often in the future. But for now, go back, watch some of my previous videos. Please subscribe, like and share. And see you in the next one.